So, hello all, remember that timeline video I did? Well, here's one for Volume 7, but there is a massive correction I have to make from that previous video, and it's not something that makes me happy, and it's not some meme rubbish like Grim Eclipse. It's something that my friend the animation hipster brought up to me. Apparently, I was right about the 1 week difference between Volumes 2 and 3, because in the Volume 3 commentary, they say it was a spring break. And I want you to think about that. This means, due to the winter we see at the end of Volume 3 finale, there is roughly a 6-month gap between this and this. This is the pinnacle of incompetent writing, the absolute zenith of stupidity. I missed out on 6 months of the timeline because Rooster Teeth are fucking stupid. I don't want to target anyone on the particular crew, and I hate even targeting them directly about things that aren't just jokey jokes. I like making jokey jokes towards them, but not legitimate targeting and anger. But what the fuck? I want you to understand the implications of this. This adds 6 months between the end of Volume 3 and the reunion in Volume 5. If you guys remember the absolute hell I went through figuring that shit out, and I refused to change anything prior to the fall of Beacon because I went through enough hell with that, this means from day 97 onward, 13 fucking months pass before we get back to Team Ranger. 13 months. We're just going to round that down to an extra 180 days of those in those 6 months, because I don't care, but that's what I'm going to do because it's too painful. Where does this go for the other timelines? Well, it means Yang spent another 6 months doing nothing, Weiss spent another 6 months between when she summoned the Gigas and when she actually left, or you could say she spent 6 months in captivity, but I refuse to believe that, and Blake spent another 6 months on that fucking boat. And yes, I'm adding over 100 days in those parts. Why? Because it's clear that Weiss's story starts not long after she gets there, and the only points where a break that big fits are between when she prepared to leave and when she actually does enact her plan and the flight. The flight couldn't take that many days, so it's just when she prepared to leave and when she actually enacted the plan. The flight would not take that long. As for Blake, once again, her story takes place over a very short span of time compared to this new 100 plus days, and the only places that I can put it are between when the fall of Beacon happens and when she gets on the boat, or when she's on the boat. There are too many questions if she spent 180 days in the ruins of Beacon, because what was she doing? There's a lot of questions on what she was doing at the case. While if she was on the boat, then it's barely warranting asking what she was doing. She spent 180 days on that fucking boat with Sun. So let's revise this timeline with this in mind. And we're just going to forget about the dates themselves because I don't fucking care. This is driving me insane. Starting from day 125, where Weiss is replaced by Whitley as the Schnee Dust fucko, meaning we can take 28 days from that extra 180 days, we can add 152 days to every single timeline point after that. Day 377, Yang departs from Mistral. Day 390, Blake and Sun arrive at Furryland. Day 393, Blake takes Ilia's scroll that appeared out of nowhere. Day 394, Gira reveals the White Fang plans to a bunch of fucking morons. Day 423, Adam makes Sienna Khan drop dead gorgeous. Day 447, Ozpin shoves himself into a 14-year-old boy. Day 452, Weiss gets her fucking ass into gear and gets the fuck out of her stupid house. Day 462, Tyrion shows up and actually does something. Day 468, Oscar fucks off to go get to Crow. Day 469, Dickheads get the Mistral. Day 471, Blake burns her house down. Day 482, Weiss crashes with a gay man. Day 493, Yang does something with her stupid life and frees Weiss. Day 494, Cinder does a thing with Raven. Day 495, the Battle of Haven, but who cares? Day 509, Dickheads get on a train. Day 510, Dickheads get to Argus. Day 512, Dickheads get to a floating rockland. If you want me to re-narrate the entire timeline, I'll do it, but given the views the last video got, I might as well just not bother. This is absurd. The only other ways to mitigate this, I don't know, okay, I don't know, unless you want to just say they retconned it, but they recorded the commentary after they finished everything, so if anything, that retcons the fact that Volume 3 looks like it's in autumn. Okay, that's out of the system. Volume 7. Whew. Episode 1 and 2 take place on the same day as the finale of the last volume. This is pretty obvious, that ends at night, and this continues into night. Episode 2 does also show them going to their dorms, likely to sleep, at the end of it. In Episode 3, we see Clover debriefing them, which clearly takes place before this episode's main plot. As in this episode's main plot, they have their new equipment that wasn't there during the debrief. Pedro says he held onto their weapons for longer than he wanted. Considering we have no idea how long it'd take to add these honestly very small upgrade, it's not unreasonable to say that Pedro took maybe a week to get it done. However, in Episode 4, Ruby says it's a good time to go exploring, implying that they haven't had enough time to actually do any exploring. As such, I'm going to round it in between and just say that it was a span of 3 days. That's potentially enough time for Pietro to make weapons, but not enough time for Ruby to explore to her heart's content. The rest of the episode happens on the day after that. Episode 4 happens on the same day as Episode 3 as well, and Episode 5, thankfully, has a montage. Oh boy. First part happens the day after Episodes 3 and 4. Penny awakens at the Huntress work, and it's implied this is their first time, as they're pretty clearly not used to it, and it'd be weird if Penny had decided to do it like 5 days in. Wonderful, but Maria later in the series states that a few weeks have passed since they arrived. So I'm just going to say this montage took 2 weeks to overall occur, with the Robin scene happening in the middle of it, and the Winter and Weiss scene being the end of the montage. Now, this episode ends with Jacques causing a riot. This is why I say the Winter Weiss scene happens last, because Episode 6 starts after the riot has ended. Weiss directly says that Jacques announced this thing that causes the riot the day before the election, and Episode 6 takes place on Election Day. This also ends at night. Episode 7 also directly takes place on the day after. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Doesn't Episode 6 end at nighttime, and then Episode 7 continue at nighttime? Yes, however, it is very unlikely that Episode 7 takes place on the same day. The reason being that it's implied there's a really big Grim attack that's going to happen, and there's a lot of problems. However, all the protagonists end up going up to see Ironwood and doing other things, and when they do the whole Robin thing at night, there's no Grim around. So it's unlikely that they happen on the exact same day. Episode 8 we're also going to say happens the next day, as the previous episode ended at night, and this starts at day, and episodes 9, 10, 11, and 12 all take place on the exact same day, with episode 12 ending on a new day, which is when episode 13 happens. So, that means the timeline goes something like this. Day 512. Team Ruby, Juniper, Crow Bronwyn, Maria Calavera, and Oscar Pine land in Mantle. The Ace operatives capture Ruby and Co. and take them to James Ironwood in Atlas. Day 515. Team Ruby, Juniper, and the Ace operatives clear out the Grim within a mine in Atlas. Teams Ruby and Juniper receive their official Huntsman licenses. Day 529. Jacques Schnee announces controversial things that lead to a riot within the city of Mantle. Day 530. The riot is cleared and elections for the next council seat are held. Jacques Schnee wins the election, while Tyrion Callows and Arthur Watts frame Penny Polendina for murdering supporters of Robin Hill. Day 532. Jacques Schnee is incarcerated for conspiring with Arthur Watts. Arthur Watts deactivates the heating system in Mantle, leading to mass panic. James Ironwood reveals the existence of Salem to the city of Mantle. Tyrion Callows and Arthur Watts are defeated and arrested while a large-scale Grim attack occurs in Mantle. James Ironwood learns that Cinderfall has infiltrated his kingdom and declares martial law. Team Ruby turn against James Ironwood, leading to them, Team Juniper, Crow Bronwyn, and Oscar Pine being declared criminals and wanted by Atlas. Team Ruby defeat the Ace operatives and meet up with Pietro Polendina and Maria Calavera. Winter Schnee and Penny Polendina go to retrieve the power of the Winter Maiden from Freya. Tyrion Callows breaks free of his bonds and murders Clover Abbey with the weapon of Crow Bronwyn. Day 533. Neapolitan single-handedly retrieves the Relic of Knowledge from Oscar Pine and Team Juniper. Penny Polendina receives the power of the Winter Maiden from Freya and goes with Team Ruby. Oscar Pine is nearly murdered by James Ironwood, but awakens the magical powers from Ozma and saves himself from death. Crow Bronwyn and Robin Hill are arrested. Team Ruby, Juniper, Maria Calavera, Penny, and Pietro Polendina attempt to abandon Mantle and escape the kingdom, but are stopped by the sudden appearance of Salem. And that ends the Ruby timeline by Volume 7. A huge amount of days have been added because of the general incompetence of the series, but there's nothing I can do about that now, is there? I think the thing that stands out most to me is how much happens in the last 2 days, while almost nothing happens for a lot of the other time they spend there. That's really the only thing in this timeline that I've added that really seems to stand out to me. I honestly did have a lot of fun making the Volume 7 part of this video, and I can't wait to add Volume 8. Also, I might make an image representation of the timeline, but the problem is that there are some huge gaps, but also some very small gaps that will make it a bit more difficult to do a proper scale, you know.